ISIS thugs are the same as the Nazis, who slaughtered millions of people before and during World War II. There's no difference in the mentality, none at all. And once again, the world is standing by doing little while the ISIS menace grows, spreading all over the Middle East and North Africa. President Obama is not taking the lead. His stated 60-nation coalition is invisible, and the other nations of the world are even worse. How long are these atrocities going to continue before the world unites against these savages?
So O'Reilly last night calling ISIS modern-day Nazis. This is a day after we're told that ISIS has abducted as many as 90 Christians in northeastern Syria, including women and children. It's taking control of new territory in places like Iraq and Syria, and critics say, well, the White House is repeating history by not doing enough to stop them. Is that the case? Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst. And Colonel, good morning to you. O'Reilly's talking Nazis, others are making that comparison. You could probably go back to the mid-90s and talk about the Balkans and how that genocide began. You could talk about Rwanda in the mid-90s and how that genocide began as well. Is this the target for ISIS, or is it land they want?
No, well, they certainly would like land. They'd like the globe. They'd like the caliphate. But the immediate target are Christians, Jews, Yazidis, other minorities, but especially Christians. Because Christian civilization in that region predates Islam. I mean, it's been there for 2,000 years. Bill, the first 1,000 years of Christianity was about the greater Middle East and North Africa. Those are the cities where the thinkers were, the saints, the theologians. There were far more Christians in the Middle East back then than there were in Europe, much of which was still pagan in the far north. But what we are seeing now is an Islamist attempt to exterminate the last vestiges of Christian civilization in the Middle East. And you know, after the Holocaust of World War II, the world said never again. But Bill O'Reilly's right. It's happening again. And it is a genuine Holocaust against Christians. And Bill, these Christians are kidnapped. Our president does nothing. Christians are tortured and even crucified publicly. Our president does nothing. Christian women are kidnapped and raped again. Our president does nothing. Christians are driven from their homes in the Middle East by the hundreds of thousands, slaughtered by the tens of thousands, and our president does nothing. He is the reincarnation of Pontius Pilate washing his hands of it.
State
But this blood's not coming off.
State Department says this, quote, "We demand the immediate unconditional release of the civilians taken captive yesterday and of all those held by ISIL." O'Reilly talked about this invisible coalition. The Emir of Qatar was at the White House yesterday. Is it invisible, or are there things being done that we just cannot report?
No, it's a lie. This coalition is a total lie. There are a handful of countries doing something. Most of it's just, you know, the State Department's chalking up names. And for the State Department to demand that the prisoners should be released. If you really think Islamic State pays much attention to Jen Psaki? I mean, you've got to act. You cannot, cry crocodile tears and pretend that somehow, magically, this is going to go away. You must act. I mean, this is an extermination unfolding before our eyes. It is larger in scale, if more slow motion, than Rwanda. It's vastly larger in scale than Srebrenica and what was happening in the Balkans. It is the extermination of a 2,000-year-old civilization, and the world does nothing. And our president, what does he do? Persecutes Israel because he desperately wants a phony deal with Iran on nuclear weapons. It's going to be his legacy. His legacy is going to be an Iranian bomb.
More on that next Tuesday when Bibi Netanyahu addresses Congress. An Egyptian border official says 20,000 Egyptians have fled Libya since the beheading of those Egyptian Christians of 2 weeks ago, 2,000 to 3,000 per day.
The latest terror tape. Experts trying to determine if the leader of the group that brutally executed 21 Christians is American. ABC's Brian Ross is with us now with the very latest. And good morning, Brian.
Well, good morning, Laura. As gruesome as that new video is, it also offers a wealth of clues for U.S. intelligence officials. And this morning they're analyzing the tape to see, among other things, if the leader of that mass murder could be American.
The most important clues are his facial features and speaking patterns, now being compared to Americans known to have joined ISIS.
Today, we're on the south of Rome.
He says south instead of south, so he's not from Canada.
Eric Thomas, a professor of linguistics at North Carolina State, says a number of distinctive pronunciations.
All praise is due to Allah.
He said do instead of Jew.
Point to a possible U.S. background with some Arabic influence as well.
I think he sounds pretty American.
Today at the White House, day 2 of a terror summit to stop the pipeline of American recruits to ISIS.
We need answers that go beyond a military answer.
This is a genocidal movement. We have an administration that will not even admit that there's a religious basis underlying what's going on.
Why doesn't the president get it?
The administration says that the ones who were killed were Egyptian citizens.
But there are Christians all over the world who woke up over the weekend and said, this is about us.
Pope Francis said these men were beheaded simply because they were Christians.
We have an administration that is truly pathological.
ISIS beheading 21 Christians just because they are Christians. And still the White House is refusing to acknowledge the Egyptian victims were Christians. And Reverend Franklin Graham joins us from Samaritan's Purse. He joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Greta. It's good to be with you.
Reverend, I just read your Facebook page in which you say in part, I am perplexed as to why our president will not acknowledge the truth and call Islamic extremism what it is. In a statement, the White House even called the 21 Christians who were beheaded Egyptian citizens, refusing to identify them as Christians. Why do you think the president and the White House call them citizens and not Christians?
Greta, I have no idea. I'm baffled by this White House, and it seems as though they want to try to believe a lie, that everything's okay when it's not okay. And Greta, let me just say something about these men who cut the heads off. And I'd like to say something to them if they're watching. And I want them to know that what they did was evil, what they did was wrong. It was a sin against God. And I know they did this thinking they were pleasing God, but it doesn't. It's a sin. And God loves you, and God is willing to forgive you, but you've got to be willing to confess your sin to Him and ask for His forgiveness, and by faith invite His Son, Jesus Christ, into your heart. If you do that, God will forgive you for what you have done. And God will heal your heart, and He'll invite you to be with Him for eternity in heaven. Greta, I think it's important that the Muslim world know that God does love them. And he's made a way for them to be with Him in heaven, and that's through faith in His Son, Jesus Christ. They don't have to cut off heads. They don't have to die in a holy war. It's simply by faith. And Greta, this is something that the White House doesn't understand, the religious aspect of this. And these men are doing what they are doing thinking they're pleasing God, because the Quran teaches this. Islam says you can have slaves. Islam says that you can cut the heads off of people, that you can kill Jews and Christians and Yazidis and anybody else that doesn't believe like you. And this is a religious aspect of this that they just don't accept, and they refuse, even to this day, will not accept it and don't believe it.
Does it make a difference, because I know we're going to talk in a minute about the Attorney General says, but does it make a difference if the President says it's, Islamic extremists or what he calls whoever these people are who are cutting heads off?
It does make a difference, Greta. We have to understand who we're dealing with, and you have to deal with it accordingly. And the President is ignoring the fact that these are Islamic extremists, these are terrorists, and ISIS is a terrorist organization, and they are bent on destroying the West. They've already said they want the flag of Islam to fly over the White House. The President, his entire life, his whole influence has been Islam. His mother was married to a Muslim. His father's a Muslim. Then she married a man from Indonesia. He was raised in Indonesia, went to Islamic schools. I assume she was a Muslim. So this whole life, his experiences have been surrounded by Islam. He only knows Islam. And he's given a past Islam. He's refusing to accept and understand the evil that is in front of him.
The State Department has yet to confirm these latest attacks in western Iraq, though.
All right, but the latest atrocity would bring the death toll to well over 60 people. Linda Schmidt joins us now. Linda.
That's right. First of all, good evening to both of you. And it is very important to reiterate here that so far there isn't any confirmation that this latest alleged barbaric act actually happened. Now, it allegedly happened in the Iraqi town of al-Baghdadi, which is just 5 miles from an airbase where more than 300 U.S. Marines are stationed. It was just on Friday that ISIS released video of Kurdish prisoners wearing orange jumpsuits imprisoned in cages. They were being paraded around in trucks in Iraq. It had haunting similarities to the Jordanian pilot trapped in a cage who ISIS burned alive earlier this month. Now the police chief in the town of al-Baghdadi is claiming that ISIS has burned to death 45 more people. Exactly who these people were and why they were killed is not clear, but the police chief says he believes some were members of the security forces. The town of al-Baghdadi is just 5 miles from Al-Assad Air Base, where about 350 U.S. Marines are training Iraqi soldiers. ISIS attacked the base on Friday, but was pushed back by Iraqi troops and U.S.-led coalition aircraft. This latest report of people burned alive comes just days after ISIS released a video showing the beheadings of 21 Egyptian Christians in Libya. David Andelman is the editor and publisher of the World Policy Journal, a foreign policy magazine.
They want to see boots on the ground. They want to see American boots on the ground. They want to see French, British, whoever they can, because they believe that they can inflict serious damage on Western forces. And that's one part of their strategy.
And the police chief, by the way, of al-Baghdadi is pleading for help from the Iraqi government and the international community because he says a compound that houses families of security personnel and officials is also under siege by ISIS.
سوف تعلو راية الحق ويثبت